Good evening, friends and fiends, and welcome back to another edition of Mad Matt at the Movies. On tonight's episode, we're going to discuss A Quiet Place Day 1. Now, to be honest with you, friends and fiends, this is not really a franchise that I'm a huge fan of. I don't actually hate the franchise, it's just one that I'm kind of meh on.
Said meh. M-E-H. Meh.
But that doesn't stop me from trying to have an open mind and watching this prequel. So this new installment of A Quiet Place is released by Paramount Pictures and was made on a budget of $67 million, and at the time of this recording has made back $243.6 million. So far, this has been a very profitable movie for Paramount, so I can see why they went back to the well now a third time, and reportedly there will be a fourth movie on the way. In this film, we have a small but effective cast. In the lead role of Sam, we have Lupita Nyong'o. And then as Eric, an English law student, we have Joseph Quinn of Stranger Things fame.
Christy! Christy, wake up now! Christy!
Then we also have Alex Wolff, who plays Ruben. Then we have Digimon Hansu, who plays Henry, a survivor.
Who?
And then we have Elaine Umohara, who plays Xena, who is Henry's wife. And then we have the scene-stealing Nico and Shinsale as Frodo, which is Sam's cat. This film was announced back in November of 2020 as a direct spin-off of the original Quiet Place, with Jeff Nichols set to write and direct based on a story by John Krasinski. As with any production, you have people coming and going through the project, so Jeff Nichols, who was originally set to direct, did drop out of the project. It was at this time that Michael Sarnoski was approached to write the screenplay and also direct the film, and he gladly did accept the role. Principal photography took place from February to April of 2023 in London, although the film was set in New York City, so they did do a good job of actually making London pass as New York City. So in watching this film, there was never a point where I felt like, hey, this isn't New York City, so I have to say they did a great job in that aspect. So with that, let's get down to the details of the plot of the movie. So there will be some small spoilers there, so if you have not seen this yet, go ahead and skip towards the end of this video where you can see my final ratings on the review. But you have been warned if you continue at this point that there may be some mild spoilers. So this movie does start out with our lead role of Sam, who is a cancer patient that is actually in hospice care. And you do see her kind of as an unlikable character to begin with because she knows her diagnosis is terminal. So she plays the part as someone that has no hope of ever recovering from cancer based on her diagnosis. So in this, I do think she does a good job in regards to what she has been given. However, it does make her character come off as unsympathetic. So it's hard to get behind this character. So I don't blame the actress at all. I blame the way the character is written. I actually think the actress does a good job of what she was given to portray that character. Although I just, as a moviegoer, I'd rather see the character kind of written to make her just a little bit more likable, as opposed to her cat as being the likable character that kind of brings her through. So the actual stage is set whenever Sam is offered a chance to go into the city to see a play. And the hospice care worker is actually doing this in hopes of actually cheering her up and getting her spirits up. And originally Sam is reluctant to go, as she doesn't want to leave her room or leave the hospital grounds, but she does accept this invitation on the grounds that she's going to be able to go into the city and get her some pizza. So we know this just the little things.
Gotta enjoy the little things.
Brings Sam back to a moment of humanity to where she kind of feels that maybe she's part of a group or she doesn't have to isolate herself. From that point, the film actually wastes no time in getting into the actual meat of the story, and that is, of course, the monsters of A Quiet Place and how they came to be. You start seeing streaks of fireballs fly down into the city, and after that, it causes chaos throughout the city of people not knowing what is going on, and it kind of brings you back to the days of 9/11. I'm sure that's where they got their inspiration from, when you see the clouds of dust come up to where you can't see what's actually going on. People are getting swooped up out of the air, pulled out, and you just see a lot of chaos going on. So those initial scenes are extremely effective in how they're shot. It kind of reminds me of the previous films like Cloverfield that done this. So I do think that was a great job. It really makes it set for like a tense scene, because you cannot, as an audience member too, see what's going on. You kind of see everything as it happening in the shadows. So it does a great job then of leaving it to your imagination.
Imagination.
Especially if you've not seen any of the previous Quiet Place films, you may not know what type of creatures that you're dealing with. So I thought that was a very effective scene. From this point, our lead character, Sam, wakes up after being knocked out, and she comes to back into that puppet theater with a small group of survivors. And from there, she's having to learn how to cope with this new world which they're to live in, where they have to remain silent for fear of being hunted. So after Sam's first initial encounter with what the online fandom refers to as the Death Angels of A Quiet Place, or the extraterrestrial creatures, we don't see Sam then try to be a leader and try to help the group. Instead, she decides that she wants to go get that slice of pizza, and that is her motivating factor throughout this film. From here, we do see Sam go from set piece then to set piece, remaining as quiet as possible in order to avoid the monsters that have landed on Earth. And then we do see her engage with some other side characters or minor characters, where she will either take them to safety or try to instill the fact that she is a loner and doesn't want any part of being part of a group. It's at this point where she reluctantly befriends Joseph Quinn, who plays Eric, the English law student. And I have to say that he's the one that kind of brings this movie all together and has the standout performance in my eyes, because he is the driving force into what takes Sam and keeps her from being a loner to more than trying to be part, even though it's a small group of him and her, just being part of that fabric of society again, where she wants to live and experience things. So to me, that's one of the best parts of this film, and I think they do a great job of this with Eric and that character. And as we were previously discussing, once Sam has agreed to keep moving along with Eric, the story really does pick up as far as like some good scenes that were set with the creatures and how they're having to avoid being detected. So the film does a great job of setting up these scenes and creating that kind of tension, because you have to be as silent as humanly possible so they cannot track you. But as far as the plot line goes, I'm going to leave it at that, because I don't want to spoil the last 2/3 to the last third of the movie. Obviously, if this is a film series that you've enjoyed in the past, if you enjoyed The Quiet Place and The Quiet Place 2, then I do think you're going to enjoy A Quiet Place Day 1. I think the filmmakers do a great job in this film of setting the mood. They do a great job of mixing CGI with some practical effects. I think the creature designs look fantastic in this movie, and I love the fact on how they do hunt. Obviously, they hunt by sound. It reminds me of the classic film Tremors, where they're listening to the vibrations underneath. These monsters, they just kind of hang out in places where they're out of sight and out of mind. But the moment you make that little sound, you see them crawling and swarming. You think about like an anthill, how they'll swarm on you whenever they realize you're getting close to their colony. So just seeing that and how that plays out in this film, I think they do a great job with it. Just reiterating, I think the cast as a whole did a fantastic job. I think the standout character for me, as previously mentioned, was Joseph Quinn. He just does a great job of bringing out the humanity of Sam's character, along with him growing as a character as well, because when we first see him, like anybody will be, he's extremely scared. But there's several moments in this film where he does rise to the occasion. And I'd be doing an injustice to the film if I didn't mention those cats and Frodo and how they were trained for this film. I think they did an amazing job with this cat, because it's not just a little side character. This cat plays a major part in this movie and driving the plot along. And it amazes me at the lengths they go with this cat and the tricks they've taught it to be able to do certain things in this film. So like I said, great job to the filmmakers, great job to the trainers, and great job to the actors to being able to work as one cohesive unit to do these things. Some cons for this movie overall, though, as with every Quiet Place movie, I like the movie itself, but it's not something that's leaving a lasting impact on me where I feel like I have to go rewatch this movie over and over. So the rewatch factor for it is really not there for me, in my opinion. Also, some of the characters that were written, like I said, the actors do a great job for what they were getting, and you can see it's just how they were written, but some of these characters are unlikable, and it's hard to get behind them. So for me as a moviegoer, it's just hard to get invested in a story and your characters if they come off as so unlikable that I really don't care one way or the other if they're going to survive or if they're going to die. And obviously, with the movie being titled A Quiet Place, there is lengthy periods of time throughout this film where there is no sound, nothing going on, obviously so they don't attract the monsters, but it does lead for this film, as far as the pacing issues go, to kind of slog along and take its time getting where it's going. So for me, I would give this 3 Goldblums out of 5. It's one, like I can honestly say, it is a good movie. I can't dispute the fact that it is a good movie. So if you do like the other Quiet Place films, definitely you're going to enjoy this film. If it's one where you're not sold on the first 2 films, then I don't think this film is going to sway you in that direction to where you're all of a sudden going to become a fan. Well, there you have it, friends and fiends. That's my review for A Quiet Place Day 1. At the time of filming this review, I can see on Rotten Tomatoes that it has an 87% critical rating, so it's got a fresh score. It also has a 73% audience score, so it's one of the few times where the audience and the critics are pretty close together. So as far as my rating of 3 Goldblums out of 5, would you agree with that? Would you go higher? Would you go lower? Let me know in the comments, because I love having those discussions with you as the fans. So as always, though, friends and fiends, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. And join us next time where we review another film at Mad Matt at the Movies.
Shh.